able to dial in a nice polish on your mix during a mixing session quickly, or just adding a little sprinkle of that spicy sauce for your client after a recording session before you bounce it down for them to jam in the car the whole way home. Yeah, that's a superpower. And recently I've cut down on the amount of plugins I use on a daily basis. So let's go ahead and add an instance of VXQ on the vocals as well. I have way too many plugins. And I've really just been focusing on the ones that allow me to work quickly and just make things accomplish my goals super quickly. So today I want to dive into two very different but two very powerful plugins that pull a lot of weight and can help you take your mix over the finish line. And the best part is that you can do this incredibly quickly. So the first plugin that I want to talk about is the Kiive NFuse Bus Processor. This is an all-inclusive saturation, EQ, compressor, and stereo imaging plugin that has a really minimalistic interface to allow for quick mix decisions, while also giving you hot swappable modules for each section, which is just super rad. Because it's simple but also really powerful, you can basically just treat this as like something like a channel strip, which is a tried and true way to give yourself all of the control you need without being overwhelmed with all the settings or having to load up 5 different plugins. Check out how I used NFuse to enhance my mix bus on this track. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on this NF link so we can swap between the two modules and we'll get going. And just like that, just cutting off a little bit of the lows that were in there, there's a lot of live instrumentation to this. So I did a high pass filter just under 30 just to kind of clean things up a bit. And then in the harmonic section, I used the N module to add a little bit of that shine. And I love these phrases, dark and shine. If you boost dark, the song's gonna sound a little bit more dark. If you boost shine, it's gonna sound a little bit more shimmery. And then of course you have this grit mode here. I didn't use it, but if you're looking for the more aggressive style of saturation, that's a really good bet. And then I added a little bit back at 100 because I feel like it kind of felt a little bit like it was scooped there, just to give it some of that body back, but have it be kind of controlled. And then on the compressor side, I used the F-style compressor just to do a few dB of compression with a 2-to-1 ratio, just to kind of clean things up a little bit. And then finish it off with the N-style stereo imaging just to add a little bit of that width. And I love how it sounds. It's a massive difference. One more time, we'll do a before and after. So this is before. After. Just like that, we were able to make it sound much more open, much more interesting, and that is how you use NFuse as a superpower. And of course, this is just one example. You can use this way more subtly or way more aggressively on basically anything, and even on other sources or buses as well. It's amazing on drums. The possibilities are endless with the amount of power that this plugin gives you, so really you just need to try it on everything. Just have fun with it. And the next plugin I want to talk about is the Kiive M5133 Mastering EQ. This thing is a vibe machine. Just even throwing this plugin on with the default settings adds a really subtle amount of harmonic enhancement, similar to what you'd find in an analog unit. The EQ gives you all the broad bands for final balancing that you would need, with the added bonus of being able to add even or odd harmonics to make it sound more vibey or more gritty if that's what the song calls for. And though I typically use this pretty subtly, less is usually more with a plugin like this, but check out what this can do on your mix bus. And now let's see what we can do with the M5133 plugin.
Maybe we'll meet again. Tell me about the time you spent. Maybe we'll meet again. Tell me about the time you spent when you were. Maybe we'll meet again. Tell me about the time you spent. Maybe we'll meet again. Tell me about the time you spent when you were. Maybe we'll meet again. Tell me about the time you spent. Maybe we'll meet again. Tell me about the
Awesome. I love this plugin. And just by boosting a little bit at about 100 and then boosting a little bit at around 12 to 13K for that extra oomph in the high end, and then using the saturation section to add an odd harmonic, which really brought out the kick. So the odd harmonics are kind of, for lack of better terms, you're gritty, you're ugly, right? And then the even harmonics are your more musical, shimmery style ones. So I popped this saturation module in and then just kind of adjusted to taste, brought out the kick a little bit, brought some of that shimmer, and then I left the mix at 100%, but you could totally do this and mess with the mix knob and all that stuff. But I love this because you can hit this little delta button here and actually hear what you're adjusting. And as you can see, this is at, 12K, but if you turn on the delta, you can hear that it's a very, very broad band, which I think is what makes this so musical. This isn't your surgical EQ, this is your flavor. So this was before.
Maybe we'll meet again.
Listen to that kick.
Tell me about the time you
After.
spent. Maybe we'll meet again. Tell me about the time you spent when you were.
Amazing. This plugin is incredible. This is my favorite mastering or even mix bus EQ. It's just great. So whether you're putting the final touches on your song, trying to dial in a sound, or just rushing to make the song you just recorded for a client sound a bit more sauced up before they bump it on the way home, these plugins are absolute powerhouses. You could try either of these plugins for free over at www.kiiveaudio.com, and I encourage you to do so because they're rad plugins. Thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you in the next Kiive video. Take care of yourselves. See you next time.